Hello, the queen. Hi, Nancy.
Hi, Barbara. Thank you so much for the introduction. That was fun.
Yes. Oh my God. Just what you do is just totally wonderful. And like I always tell people, when you really do what you love doing, you're a beacon to the light because you like doing what you do, and it's a gift. So you have many gifts, lady. I just said a little small small part of it, but you do so much, and a trained ballerina. I was like, oh my God, that's so sweet. Because I used to love dancing. So every time I hear people, like if they're doing something totally different, but then they say, oh, I also used to do this too. I'm like, that's good because you dip dabbed in those other things that you really, that had in your heart. So, but with that, before we even start, I want to thank you again because, like I said, you're taking your time out to come on the Visibility Corner. So I'm going to be a little bit selfish here by saying this is a gift to me because I love you coming on the show. So with that said, lady, I want to start off because I always like to hear that little backstory on how people started and what they do. So can you just give us a little glimpse of that?
Sure. So I can talk to you about starting my new company, right? Envision Healthy Retirement. So I was that corporate executive and was really driven. I was a high performer, but it came at a cost, right? As it does everyone. And I was trying to figure out how to get off that hamster wheel. But I had a lot of obligations, if you will. But there came a point where I just felt doing another decade was unsustainable. But, what am I supposed to do, right? This is the only thing, when I did retain search, it was a very narrow channel, like anyone, this is the lane that I saw. And I decided to search outside of my lane and try to find programs or tutorials or people that could support me in what am I going to do in retirement. And by the way, I'm also not very healthy. I am overwhelmed, exhausted, chronically stressed. I was in free fall basically. And lo and behold, I couldn't find anything. When we talked about retirement, when I was looking for retirement in the wealth management piece of it, it's all about assets. So making sure you have enough pennies till the end of your days, right? But they didn't talk about you. And so this is why my company was born. And they certainly didn't talk about you and your health. I'm a disruptor. I've always been a disruptor. And so I'm saying that I want to disrupt this retirement space. They're looking at it all backwards. Yes, we need cash. Yes, we have to pay the rent, pay for food, and good organic food for us to support ourselves with nutrients. But also we have to work on ourselves and we have to expand and grow. And we have this global connotation about retirement that we're dried up, we're done, it's the end of the road. People can become very depressed, and I've experienced that in my colleagues. And I just said, no, that's not going to be me. And I wanted to make impact, right? And so to make impact, you've got to expand beyond your comfort zone. And I got into a lot of trouble, but this is all good because it led somewhere to building this company. So it's about taking chance on yourself. I think that's really, and not knowing, you have an idea for the outcome where you want to go, but not knowing how you're going to get there. And I think that's just, a forward path, right? Because if we live in the past, and there's all sorts of science-based studies that show that if we live in the past, we are the past. We need to sit here now and enjoy. For instance, you and I are meeting for the first time. We're enjoying this friendship and podcast. So there's a professional and a personal crossover. There's all these opportunities. We just have to look for that and be in the seat of gratitude and abundance that it will, in all good time, come to us. So that's a little history about the company and how, a typical entrepreneur story, right? Can't find it, go build it, right?
I love it. I love that. That's a mic drop right there. First of all, lady, I'm just loving what you created. This is needed, much needed. And I'm glad that you disrupt because that's how things get done most of the time when people are disrupting
Right.
some things. And I'm
Exactly.
glad that you build that up because, especially with retirement, I'm always, because I work in corporate right now too. So I'm kind of like daytime corporate, other all times my own business. I'm working right,
Right.
and I have seen people, go through that journey of the retirement phase where some people, stay on their job for almost ever
Mhm.
because they don't have the fun, the money wasn't there, or not like you said, not just the money part, but they didn't know what they wanted to do. They were like, if I leave this job, I'm lost. I mean, I would
Right.
hear them say that. If I leave this job, I want to be home just sitting looking outside at a window. If I leave this job, I don't have no other hobbies. I don't know what to do. So I was just, when I was thinking about it, I heard that more and more from people that were almost on the way, retiring. I said, that is sad. I said, there has to be some kind of way somewhere where that can help like the next crossing of your life, after you did all these years of work and you just been this expert in whatever area you're in, and all of a sudden it boils down to, I don't know, and I'm useless. I mean, they get to that point, like you said, Nancy, they get to
Mhm.
depressing mode. I mean, some people, unfortunately, and this is very sad, within my company that retired, a few weeks later, we heard that they passed away, and some of
Mhm.
them
That's very
suicide,
common. Mhm.
and some of them committed suicide. So yeah, that's why I said this is much needed. Your service is what you're doing, what you're building, or what
No,
you built.
thank you. I think that it is education. I think it is about opening up to possibilities. And it's about sharing this cause that I have to find purpose, right? So I have, as you alluded to, some skill sets, and I'm growing those skill sets and finding impact. So for your colleagues in your role in your sphere, finding a new purpose. What is their new purpose? What's their impact statement? What do they want to be doing? We have to get very clear, just like you're very clear, you're in this corporate role, but you're also very clear that you're building this entity at some point, which will become perhaps your focus when you retire. So it's rounding out. It's not, it's a flat wall and that's it. I'm done. And I felt that way. Like I understand what you're saying and what people are saying because I have felt that way. I was like, what am I going to do? It's just like I don't have any other skill sets other than retain search. That's it. That's all I know. But that's not true, right? So not only for myself, but also for people to open up the windows a bit.
Yeah. And I'm glad that you said that too, Quinn, where you say, you know what, you're more than what you even think you are. And I always tell people, and this is what I know sometimes people like, all right, here you go. I said, I always got to encourage everybody. This is me. I'm an encourager. And I said, think about the other skills. We look at the title only. And that's what I was telling them. I said,
Yeah.
look at all of the other transferable skills that you have that when you go to the next level in your life, which is retirement part, you can counsel other people, you can be there and mentor people. I mean, there's so many things you can do. The skills that you have that you're working in here, you can take these skills and something else that you like to do, use those same type of skills. It's just in a different manner. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I love that. I love what you're talking about. And for those that are listening to you now, know that it's not full-time work, stop and nothing. There's hybrid retirement. There's so many ways to define what it is that you want to do in retirement. One of which, as you beautifully said, is mentorship, because that person's been there for that other person. But there's so many other ways to incorporate that learning, and also know that this is probably the biggest shift in one's life. And as you said, identity is aligned to, I was the dentist, I was the school teacher, I am the doctor, or I am that corporate executive. And so we're very tied to that. So it's breaking loose of that and gathering our skill sets, looking at our value systems. And Barbara, honestly, when people told me that, I'm like, oh yeah, whatever. But I know that this is so important because I took on my value systems at age 20, right? When you really look at that, when you're going to school, right? And on a long corporate career. And I also took on value systems of my companies, right? How are the companies operating, right? It's a big deal today about, we won't even go there, but have I upgraded my values, my belief systems? There's so much into creating that new person. And it really requires work. It requires work and action, as you know, in terms of who are you becoming, right? So who are you becoming, and what are those things that you need to do starting today that will impact your tomorrow, right? What are those transformational skill sets that's going to get you, just like in corporate, right? So where you are in your job, when you came into this company, I would gather you were a young one, but you've added your skill sets. So now you're this expert in whatever it is. It doesn't happen overnight, right? That it's incremental steps. And that's why I say that I'm very specific about healthy retirement. You must have health to enjoy your retirement, but it's complex. There's a lot of steps that people don't know regarding the person. So I love that what you're saying about your people. Mentorship is a possibility. There's a lot of possibilities.
It's a lot of possibility, and it's something that I tell people, because they feel like even with that, they're like, well, okay, I'll use me as example, make it easier, because I've been working in the insurance industry for over maybe 40 years.
Wow.
The company I'm with right now, I've been there for 24 years. Some people are looking like, okay, are you retiring tomorrow? I'm like, no, still got a few more years to go here. But what I was telling others that, that's in the same boat that I'm in, is how many years I've been in there. I said, just because we've been in insurance all our lives, that don't mean after you retire, you just have to be a mentor of insurance. You can do mentor of, maybe just learning who you are, like you said, your purpose, and you can help other people learn their purpose. It has nothing to do with insurance. So I always say, don't still stay in that box, even though you feel like that's the only expertise you have, because you've been in it for a long time. And I got to use myself again, because outside of the corporate insurance that I'm doing right now I'm helping women in business understand how visibility, working on videos for them, doing commercials for them, learning how to do interviews on podcasts and stuff. That's nothing about no insurance. Nothing.
Exactly. And look what you've learned, and that you're sharing that. Yes, exactly. Yeah.
So I tell others, I said, if you like to bowl, maybe you've been bowling for a little bit behind closed doors, after work or something like that. Maybe you want to become a little trainer. Maybe you want to mentor people in bowling and how to get to the next level. So it's just, I feel like we still, even though we do retire, we still kind of put ourselves in that, like you said, you don't want to put yourself in that box, so that you will get to a point of getting depressed and your health might, kind of accumulate your health a little down low, because
there's a direct correlation to that. Just FYI for your audience. Yeah,
I wanted you to talk a little bit about that, because I know that can happen.
Yeah, there's a direct correlation, and I think that there's a fear factor, right? I was fearful. I was like, oh my gosh, what? I don't know anybody. I don't know anything. Who do I call? What's happening, right? And so, I read a really interesting newsletter last night, and I'll share this with you and your audience, that instead of pointing to, oh, I'm so scared, I'm really fearful, I have to go over to this lane, I'm not sure which side, which lane, say, you know what? It's going to be an exciting journey today. And so taking the opposite side to that. Yes, it's hard work. Yes, you have to do the action steps, like you say in your visibility. There's many lanes to be in to be visible, but it's all possible if you desire it, right? If you design that, as you're suggesting, you design that into your life. So it's deciding, in my opinion, what is important, what are those golden things that you want to move to, but also defining what is not, what do you not want to do. So for me, exit out the 120 hours. I don't want to be doing that anymore. I like time for myself, maybe to go on a nice walk when it stops raining today, not in the rain, but in the sunshine, but have time, right? Because there are other areas in your life that need nurturing just as much as the purpose-driven areas. Focusing on yourself. This is the first time in your life, I believe, in retirement, particularly as women, where we put ourselves first. So prioritizing things. Barbara, I was over 65. I think I was 65 before I even heard that concept. I didn't know what that meant. What do you mean put myself first? I never did it. Right? But because people have obligations, right? Because people have obligations. And that's how I was trained. I don't know how you were trained, but that's how I was trained. Nancy, everybody's first. Your family, friends, the companies you work for, so that was a lot of mindset adjustment, right? There's a lot of mindset. Yeah.
Especially if you grew up around that, like you said, because I know with my mother and dad, they were like yin and yang sometimes. My mother was just like, you need to work, you need to find a good job, you need to stay on the job for a long time, you need to retire, you need to get your pension, and boom. I mean, she already planned it out for me, what I needed to do, and she drilled that in my head all the time. Make money. It's all about them. It's all about the company. It's all about the corporate.
Right.
And then you do what you do. And then she said, through all that, they'll give you a gift, and that's retirement, and that's a pension. Well, unfortunately, pensions are really not out there anymore.
Lifestyle is gone. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, rest her soul. That all kind of, and even the 401ks are kind of depending on where you work at. So that's where you have to look, like you said, Nancy, at a whole nother, you got to open up and be a whole nother different idea of what's going on. And then look at yourself, and like you said, and say, let me do some self, like you said, mindset work. Because like you said, and I said, we both were in that, okay, you got to do this. And we're so used to hearing that all of a sudden things go a different direction in life. And you're like, okay, now, wait a minute. They told me I need to do this and this and this. Now I got to change all that in my head.
Right. It's an adjustment. I mean, it truly is understanding how you want to be to achieve what it is you want to be doing. And so that requires a lot of adjustment and change and growth and belief and habits and behavior changes. And I believe that you need to really honor yourself. This is a time to really honor yourself. Who heard that concept? If you would call me and Barbara, if you and I were friends 5 years ago, I'd be like, okay, I think you haven't had enough sleep. You call me back tomorrow morning. Because, right? I mean, right? But now it's common thinking, right? So this is the beauty of what I do, is that the science and the available information of common knowledge for common people, I'm a common person, to be able to impact other people is constantly changing. Yes. So that's the beauty of it, right? We have these tools that we can share with our audience, and that they can implement.
Well, I am so, again, Nancy, you just don't know. Thank you for disrupting again. I'm going to go right back to that, because this is so much needed. I mean, in fact, what you do, what your company does, you need to be like in every, I'm going to say like an extra arm for the corporate office so they can, the people that are going through that journey and about to retire and kind of like, I don't know, that all that kind of stuff going on in their head. they need you to come in and do like little mini mini
Thank you.
luncheons and
Thank you.
stuff.
If any corporation is listening right now, I'm happy to come in. Thank you very much. Yes. Also, outplacement. Outplacement is another place as well.
Yes.
Outplacement, depending on the company, and also depending on the companies in corporate world too, has of course different flavors. There's different industries, different objectives, things like that. But yes, that is something that
It's
I think
needed.
is very needed. Yeah.
Very needed.
Right.
And
Mm-hmm.
and because you bring the education about it, you bring the awareness.
Mm-hmm.
Because like I said, going back to where I work at, there's really, I mean, they got the normal, retirement outgoing interview kind of thing that they call, where they give you
Exit
the list of
interview.
things.
Yeah.
Yeah, the exit interview. They call it retirement exit interview. I'm like,
Okay.
so
Yeah.
I said an exit interview is an exit interview. That's what I feel like. That's my own take.
Yeah.
They hook on retirement to it. Maybe to make it special. I don't know. And they just give you this checklist,
Mm-hmm.
and they go back to, okay, check how much money and make sure that's all that's there, and
Mm-hmm.
okay, nice knowing you type of thing, which is kind of
Right.
sad when you get like that, like, okay, there you go. And then you're like,
Now what? Right?
now
So
what?
they're like, now what? And in fact, I'm trying to remember the firm. They did a study where they said that 2 out of 3 employees felt that their employer abandoned them at retirement. And I would say, I don't feel that that's accurate. They didn't abandon them because they provide some sort of financial packaging, the retirement exit, exactly as you talk about. Which is very common in across America, across the globe. But what they have not prepared the individual for is the person. And that's where the hurt and the adjustment is very challenging for people. And particularly like if you are, when you retire. So certain companies have, like, if you're XYZ age, it's mandatory. It's just thought up. Other people can stay longer. Other companies, perhaps there's a merger. While you may not, is nothing to do with you. You just may be on the wrong side, or they've decided to take a cut across the company. So it's an early exit, not expected, has nothing to do with you, but that's the way it is. Or maybe there's a product shift or an industry shift where they're reorganizing. And this is very common, very, very common. It's not pointed at you, but people feel that way. And I can't tell you how many conversations I've had where people are just so angry. I spent blah, blah, blah. And it's not about the person, and people take it very personally, and as they should, because they spent all these years. But it's recovering from that and being resilient and finding those skill sets. Those are new skill sets, Barbara, right? Yeah. To live with change,
Yeah. And I'm glad, I know what time, but I'm glad, I want to bring this one point that you brought up, because you brought up some really good golden nuggets, is a lot of times, like you said, which I didn't think about this till you said this, there is a process of, like you said, going from the retirement to trying to figure out what to do, and then dealing with the feelings and emotions that you're dealing with. Like you said, anger.
Mm-hmm.
See, a lot of people, being upset, now feel like you're not valued anymore. I mean, those are things that set in, even if somebody doesn't say it, sometimes it still might be there way, way back in a person's mind.
It's very common.
Yes.
But they don't talk about that. They don't talk about that. Yeah.
No. I mean, I hear it because I'm just an employee. And then, if I know that person, if I've been knowing for a while and they retire, then I hear, the after effect, like, oh my God, I was there for 50 years and they just gave me this, they just gave me a watch, something, and then I'm like, they're upset. They're angry. I totally get it, but I don't want them to hold it, because some people hold that anger, Nancy, for a long period of time and really disrupt their retirement on how they can just flourish in something else. But they're so busy being angry. Yeah.
It's interesting how the mind and body take over and react, right? And the mind is very powerful. And so, like you said, with this particular example, but there are very similar across everywhere. That you can get into a circuit. I call it a circuit loop. I don't know what you call it, but it's a repetitive loop where I'm so angry, and then that leads to you can't let it go. And so we talk about all that in my program, because it's about stopping all that neuroplasticity and creating new, more focused, because that's very hurtful to the person, right? It's like you're not honoring yourself. This situation happened, but it's about putting that meaning, right? I'm not valued. I don't think that's really true. It's just that situation happened, and we have to figure out a way to move on, right? For the survival of that human, for that survival of that human, in a very we're living longer and longer, so the quality of their life, that's what I'm trying to talk about. The quality of their life is very favorable in health.
Yes, like you said, that lifespan. Wow. Well, Nancy, this has just been so much. I mean, I already have thoughts and ideas on where I want to tell people about you already. So I really
that's very sweet. I'm open to I'm open to any if people are serious and they want to take action. Absolutely open. My whole thing is to drive value to people and your audience. So absolutely, thank you.
Yes, I definitely want to make sure that people get the awareness of what you do, because this is much needed. Like you said, the money, and we all understand, saving the money because you need to live, you need to, have rent and stuff like that.
Yes.
But that's just a portion. And through this conversation today, I hope a lot of the audience is listening. That's just a portion of retirement. There's a whole nother obstacle thing that Nancy and her company can do for each and every individual to show up as them, because we're human beings too. We're not just robots, as they're putting out there today, more of, but we're not. We're human beings. We feel, we we all that's going on in our lives. So our mind and our soul and our body. So we have to look at that as well. So Nancy, I want to make sure that I give you just a few more seconds. Any lasting thoughts that you want to give to the audience? And I want to make sure they can get your contact information. So I'll be right back.
All right. Thank you. So, Barbara, I just wanted to say thank you, and to Barbara's audience, thank you for having me today. I'm thrilled to be here. I just want to share with you that you are the most important piece of the retirement equation. And it is about growth. It is about expansion, and it is about finding what you want to do, what matters most to you in your life, so that your health and your lifespan equal, and so that you will live in a beautiful quality of life for the rest of your life. So thank you, Barbara. Appreciate it.
This has been a total joy. You made my whole week, Nancy.
Okay.
I love this. I love. Yeah, please keep being disruptive. Please build that, please, because people need this. You're lighthouse of the world right now. You are generally a lighthouse of the world, especially for people that are going to the next phase in their lives after their work and after all that they've done. And I just want to let people, like Nancy said, you're important. Even though you're going through a different phase in your life and you're leaving, whatever it is, it can be your business, whatever, not just corporate, but just think about all those years that you have done, that you put yourself and learned and grew and helped other people grow. And the list goes on. So that's what Nancy's just trying to say, is that she wants to make sure that you are still okay, even after all that you're still valued, that you still have skills, that you still can go out there and be all you want to be in a different realm. So Nancy, thank you. Now that you're here, you're family, Nancy, so you could always come back.
Thank you. I'd love to. Thank you so much, Barbara. Love it. And I'd love to also have you on my podcast. I think you'd be amazing.
Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
We'll talk about it offline. Yeah.
That'd be an honor. So everybody, please, again, Visibility Corner with Barbara J. Beckley and my wonderful queen here, Nancy. please reach out to her if you see, not just for yourself, but if you know any companies, if you know any, like different places where people need to get that extra information and awareness of when it comes to retirement after the fact. Life doesn't end after retirement. In fact, it can start. Life can even start even
Exactly.
now.
It's the
Yes.
best years of your life.
Yes. Oh, I like that.
Absolutely.
Those years of your life. With that said, we're gonna just end it with that because that was a mic drop. See you at the next Visibility Corner show and take care. And always remember to maximize your reach and impact because your true gift in you needs to shine like a lighthouse to the world. Take care.